Welcome, everyone. We have another very special guest indeed for us to help us with all aspects of life. I'm really pleased and proud to be joined by Swami Shri Krishnadasji, joining us from a beautiful location in the northern part of Mumbai, I believe, but he'll tell us a bit more about that. Now, given we're city Hindus and we always seem to be, I think, focused on our work and rushing from one place to another and career and progression and all those things which go with a city life. The reason it's very good to be speaking to Swamiji today is because he has spoken to, for instance, the Border Security Force of India. So if you think you've got stress, you should see the Border Security Force. He's spoken to the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, KPMG, PwC, State Street Bank. So he's got that experience of dealing with and understanding the problems we in the very material world have. But what importantly as city Hindus we want to do is make sure we're always connected to the bigger picture, the important picture of our faith. So Swami Krishnadasji, Radhe Radhe, and
Radhe,
welcome.
Radhe.
Welcome to this. Would you like to, well, say a few words before I start the questions? Is there anything in particular you'd like to say to begin?
One thing I liked about your introduction is that you mentioned that we want to be connected with the spiritual world also. Getting carried away in the material world is very easy. That is what we have been taught since we were kids. It is natural to us. But when you go and make an effort to go into spirituality, to understand something, to gain something, to have your life in a spiritual mode, that is when you have to make an effort. As we say in our scriptures, that in Indian context, it was said that gali gali goras bike, goras phire, or madira baith bikaye. Means Madira is wine. So if you want to sell wine, you have to just open a shop, be there. People will come to you and buy it. But in Indian, when you go to Braj, when you go to Indian villages, when you want to sell milk, milk is sold by that person going to each house and selling milk. So that is the irony, a good thing, milk. You have to make an effort. And something like wine or etc., you just have to be there. People will come and pick it up. This is what happens. Materialism is inside us. It has been, pumped into us since we were kids. That is easy. But I liked the thing when you said we want to be connected with spirituality also. And that is very important in this day and age. Because if you don't get connected to spirituality, as soon as the disaster comes in, everybody faces ups and downs. It's like a stock market,
Yeah.
It goes up, goes down, goes up, goes down. But in the stock market also, we were taught, if you do not invest when it goes down, you will never make money when it goes up. Similarly, in our lives also, if you do not invest when things are going backwards, if you do not make an effort, if you do not get yourself into spirituality, you will not make happiness when things are proper, because the life becomes like a race.
Yes.
Nobody knows. You're just running. And you ask somebody, why are you running in the first place? He said, I started running for something else, but as on today, I don't know why I'm running. I'm running because everybody is running.
Yes.
So that is what we do not want people to do.
And let's start at the beginning in a way. So imagine, we've got an audience which will be high-flying people in the city, or people who want to be high-flying in the city. They've got rushed life. You can imagine their mornings. They're rushing to get out of the door once COVID lockdown is finished, of course, and then they've got calls, they've got emails. Where's the room for puja, meditation, and so on? How should they begin? Normally, we're always told with anything where you have to make an effort, baby steps. So what would your advice to them be, the ones who know there's something missing, there's a bigger picture, but are so busy. And as you gave the stock market analogy, you know, the noise is just everywhere, the noise of
Yes.
daily life. What's the baby step advice to them?
I have a favorite saying. If you work for a living, everybody says, "Nah, I work for a living." If you work for a living, why do you kill yourself working? Are you really working for a living, or are you killing yourself working? Getting up in the morning, rushing away, having a sandwich in the car, and just gobbling it up, and then running. You don't even know when your days is finished, and you come back. You're so exhausted, and you're up finished. Is this really life? You have to, each person, the first baby step is, our Puja Gurudev Sant Maa Brajdevi says, the first baby step, as you said, is each person asking himself and blessing himself by making a step that, do I really want to live this life like this? By the time you realize at X age, you are burnt out. I have seen umpteen number of examples. Brilliant brains, brilliant, extraordinary human beings, but lack of spirituality. What happened was they ran so fast in such a short time that by the time they came to a 50% of their lives, they were already burnt out. This is not what life is about. If you say, I do not have time for spirituality, there's a beautiful analogy for that. It is like telling yourself you're going on the M1, you started from London, and it goes up to Scotland, if I'm not mistaken.
Leeds, where I was born, it goes up to Leeds, my
Oh,
birthplace of Leeds.
great.
I'm very proud to say.
It great. So it goes up to Leeds. So not having time for spirituality is like saying you're going on the highway, you have a brilliant car, it is going super fast, but you're telling yourself, I have this car, I'm going, I'm running, I go on the highway, but I do not have time to fill up. I do not have time to stop for gas. I do not have time to stop for petrol. What will happen? At one point of time, how much ever that car is excellent, at one point of time it will run out of gas and you will be stuck on the middle of the highway. And at that point, you will face more trouble getting that thing back on the road than you would face trouble in stopping for petrol, taking a stop, filling it up, going back on the highway. So when people tell us that I do not have time, where is the time for spirituality? So that is the same thing. When you have a beautiful car which is on the highway, but you have to understand that one day or other you have to stop for gas, you have to stop for petrol, you have to fill up, you have to take a break and fill up. If you do not do that, it will be the same situation. At one point of time it will run out of gas, you will be on the middle of the highway, you will be stuck with nowhere to go.
And that's a wonderful analogy. Let me put myself, if I can, if my memory allows, of the 20-year-olds who'll be listening to this. And, you know, I get a lot of emails from people in their 20s and they want career advice and they want to know about getting into what's commonly called the rat race. And just recently, there was a news story about employees at Goldman Sachs complaining they're working 70, 80 hours a day, they're burning out, they've got no time for relationships. What do we say to the 20-year-old who says, but I've got obligations. I've got a boss who says to me, get this done by tomorrow. And I've got an inbox of to-dos and emails. So they say, listen, I would love to do that, but my life is out of my hands and I will be sacked or reprimanded if I don't do this today. Is the answer, of course, that's what's going to happen today, so plan ahead to get out of that? Or is it push back immediately? What do we say to them who haven't found that quiet moment to meditate, to practice their faith?
I do not have time. I am working 18 hours a day. My boss wants this to be this is what I am doing. That person is the exact one person who has to sit and ask himself, do I want this life? Because if he continues with that life, he also knows by the time today is 20, by the time he's 35, he's going to be burnt out. So you have this much energy for the life, for your next 40 years of working. You use it in 10 years, or you use it in 20 years, or you use it as per your requirements. If you want to maintain yourself, you have to anyway find time. Not having time to fill up on the highway is no excuse, because that car is not going to listen to you. If the boss is like overpressuring you, if the inbox is getting onto you, if the assignments that you have been given are more than what you can achieve or do, then you have to, that is the point when you have to sit and think, am I in the right place? Am I doing the right thing? Or am I just running the rat race? Because the most funniest thing about the rat race is, in a rat race, whether you win or you lose, you're still a rat. You win or you lose, but you're still a rat, because in that you are in that rat race. You want to enjoy the rat race, enjoy the race as a spectator. I have seen brilliant people do exactly what you just now said. If the pressure of working is too much, if I cannot finish that work in 18 hours a day, having that 6 hours for my sleep, for my eat, for my whatever life I want to live, then that is no life. That is no life.
Yes, no, absolutely.
And that life will ultimately lose your wife also. As we say, means there will be no relations, there will be no human touch, there will be no family. What are you doing? What do you have to sit and ask yourself, what do I want to achieve ultimately? So that 20-year-old, when he comes to me, the first thing I have to ask him is, what do I want to achieve? Is it just making X amount of money? Or is it running that, you have a Ferrari, it runs at X RPMs, it runs on X speed, but even an engine of a Ferrari needs to have a pit stop. When you see the F1 races,
yes,
even the best engines need a pit stop. If you don't take that pit stop, the engine will seize. That, how much ever that technologically advanced engine, but it needs a stop. Similarly, how much ever you think you are able to work, you need a stop. You have to, first thing that you have to tell yourself is this. And if in X place you think, for the next 10 years I'm not going to get it, it is better to move out rather than kill that car.
And you know, the funny thing is, you come from a place of faith. Of course, the business executives, the most successful ones, keep saying one of their secrets to success is the ability to say no.
Yes.
is to focus. I was watching a video just this morning about Steve Jobs, and if we say that is a definition of success, not the only one. The video talked about how he had this ability to have focus, and it was all the things he said no to. Warren Buffett teaches the same thing. He says you make a list of all the things you want to do, the top 10 most important things, then you rip out everything other than the top 3, and then you remove numbers 2 and 3 as well, and you're left with one thing. And that's that. We have a habit, I guess. I don't know whether it's greed or because it's of social media, but it was always there, I guess, is we want to do everything. And I guess
and end up doing
what you're saying is having that, well, if we go back to the scriptures, having that sense of detachment and appreciation that the material things will not be fulfilling and they're transient.
But then that 20-year-old is not ready to understand that. So what we have to tell him is exactly what you told. What do I want to achieve? Make a list. If I make a list of X, Y, and Z, A, B, and C, rip off X, Y, Z. I don't want this. A, B, C is what I want to achieve. Do I have the capacity in myself to achieve these? Yes. Fine. Is the job that I am doing going to fulfill my 1, 2, and 3 goals? Will I get enough time for myself in this? Will I be able to do justice to myself, my family, my relationships, my world, my personal life? Or will I land up being a puppet? Will I land up being a rat just running it?
Yes.
So when spirituality comes in, that is why we say spirituality should be imbibed in a kid since he is in the first standard, not when he is 20. If I have that spiritual inclination in me since I was a small baby, I know back of my mind that these material things will not land me where I want to be. These are transcendental. They will come, they will go, they will come, they will go, they will come, they will go. But ultimately, if I go into a bit of spirituality and make my life proper in the way it is to be led, then that will make me a good man. You talked about Jobs. He came to India before he was Steve Jobs, as known to the world.
Yes, he did.
He spent life in the Himalayas. He met one of the revered saints of India. And he has always mentioned that if those days for me before starting all this were not there, I would have been a different man.
Yeah.
So we have to, it is our duty to make sure that the kids before they reach 20, before they reach teens, they have been cultivated in a way that they have that spiritual inclination inside of them since birth, since they were kids. Then they will understand that my priorities are these. Running 18 hours a day are not going to get me this, because that will give me a bonus, that will give me a salary, that will give me a praise. But what I want to achieve, will it not? He will say, no, this will not achieve. Then he will start thinking.
Yes. Well, I want to turn slightly from that to Hinduism more broadly. And of course, we're fortunate in City Hindus Network, by our very nature, we have people who are, by virtue of the organization, proud to be Hindus. I fear, and my fear might be wrong, that there seems to be an increasing number of people who are not proud, and pride might be the wrong emotion to have anyway, but are not proud that they have a heritage of their faith, a culture. And I don't want to sound like, what when people get older, they sometimes sound like is, oh, you young people, you don't know, and all of this. But I might, as I say, I might be wrong, but I get the impression there are many people who are not proud of their heritage, their culture, their faith, and at every opportunity They will name call if if were I to say anything about Hinduism on social media, sometimes I'll get somebody saying, "Oh, you're a bhakt," and they don't mean it in a nice way. How do we deal with that problem? That seems to be increasing in society. I might be wrong about that, but I don't think I am from what I've observed. That there seems to be people turning their back on these things, these important things that they shouldn't be turning their back on.
The main problem that we see in this is, believe it or not, all the pride that we had in our heritage, all the pride that we had in our spirituality, all the beautiful way of life that was taught by our heritage was destroyed by centuries of slavery. We were told day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out that no, this is wrong. No, this is rubbish. No, this is mythology. No, they never existed. No, this is somebody created this in their minds. This does not exist. How can you be so uneducated? How can you be so rubbish? How can you be? So what happened was, we took it for granted that our culture is something which is lower than other cultures. That is why we are not proud of it. If I feel my culture is the best for me, your culture may be best for you. We are not disputing that. But if I feel I have a pride that my culture is the best for me, nobody in the world can take it out of me. Nobody in the world. But this has never been cultivated by us as parents, as mentors, as people who are guiding others. That first thing that you should have in your system is my culture, my Hindu philosophy is one of the most revered philosophies in the world. People have gained so much out of this that they have taken scriptures from us, studied them, and did research and made their inventions. There are cases like, you must have heard of Somnath Mandir,
Yes, of course.
obviously. This is for the kids, the 20 years. When you go to Somnath temple, it is one of the grandeurs of the country. When you come out of the temple, on the right hand side there is this sea. The whole sea is visible. Left hand side is the garden, etc. That's fine. When you see on the right hand side, like a few steps from the temple, inside the temple complex, there's a pole. 2762 years, if I'm not mistaken. 2700 X years ago, that pole was erected there. And under that pole, there is an engraving that if you take a ship from this place, go true south, you will reach the South Pole without any land hindering your journey.
Wow.
2700 years ago.
Wow.
People, they had something, because an Indian expedition in the 1900s went from that place true south and reached, just to confirm whether this was true. If I was proud of my heritage, I would have done this much, much before the Western world reached the South Pole. But I don't believe it, because I have been hammered with in the system that this is all rubbish. What we tell you is perfect. Even if it is written there, don't bother. So this is one example. I have 100 examples like this.
Yes, and I guess in a modern context, the people doing the hammering, I mean, in the old days, it would have been the Victorians and the
The slavery.
Macaulay's and you know, that whole notion of superiority of race from the
Yes.
West. I guess in the modern word, in sort of a relating it back to people's day-to-day experience, in the world of social media, it's the trolls. It's the trolls who feel inadequate, who want to
Mm.
bash you and try and embarrass you and say, well, no, I'm dealing, as we record this, as we're presenting this, we're dealing with a case of a Oxford University faculty member.
Mhm.
And the case has become so famous, it's been mentioned in the Indian Parliament. And the trolls seem to take a pride, whether it's to do with faith, being anti a particular faith, anti-Hinduism, or anti-gender or anti-race. It's the troll always has a problem with somebody or something. And social media has brought out trolls, and it's impacted people's mental health as well. Again, what do you say to the people who are getting these attacks, whether it's because of their faith or for other reasons, where these attacks seem to be, of course, because of social media, a major global problem? How
Mm.
do we, again, I guess it comes back to how do we use faith to shut out the noise and the bad or the evil, or do we try and engage them, in itself often a futile or dangerous activity in any event? What advice would you give those people who don't want to be silenced by the trolling? And just to again close on this point, some famous footballers have said they're leaving social media. In a
Mm.
sense, what they're saying is we're silencing our own voice.
Mm.
In a sense, is what they're saying. What would you say? Disengagement or some form of engagement, or ignore and do your thing proudly?
We have a saying, जंगल में हाथी अपनी चाल चलता है. आई विल एक्सप्लेन इन हिंदी इंग्लिश. जंगल में हाथी अपनी चाल चलता है, सियार भौंकते रहते हैं. Means an elephant in the jungle walks at his own pace. The foxes and the dogs keep barking. It doesn't bother him. He goes at his own pace because of his massive self. He keeps going at his own pace. People want to, those dogs and foxes want to shout. Let them shout. Take my example. When we or any person leaves the material world and goes into spirituality under the guidance of a saint and a guru, as the Hindu tradition is, do you think people appreciate? At 25 years or 24 years, if somebody leaves everything, gives up his business, and goes to stay in an ashram under a saint, do you think people appreciate it? No. This is not the time to go. You can go when your hair goes white, and after 65 you think, why are you going just now? This is a time to earn money, enjoy your life, etc., etc., etc. If it doesn't work with that, then it goes to the next level. This is called running away from your responsibilities. How can you do that? You're a coward. You're running away from your responsibilities. You have no guts to face the world. Because in this world you have to earn, you have to make efforts, you have to make so much hard work. Then you're running away from them. That you're a, next level. After that, when this also doesn't work, they go to an upper level of trying to insult you, of trying to make you a scapegoat of things, or trying to social media boycott you, or whatever it is. But does a genuine seeker listen to them and stop his work? No. He has decided he has to go. He has decided that this material world is not for me. Spirituality is what I want. He goes. Similarly, in a situation or in any situation, literally today, there will be opposition. Makes no difference what you are doing. Today, Modi ji does anything for the country, there is opposition. It is not because they are not opposing what he is doing, they are opposing him because that is their job. Does he bother? He goes at his own pace. Did I bother?
Mm.
I am going at my own pace. Like it, most welcome. Don't like it, in Hindi we say, आओ तो वेलकम, नहीं आओ तो भीड़ कम. Like it, most welcome. Don't like it, you go your way, I go my way. You keep shouting, I don't care. But if you engage yourself with them, if somebody comes and criticizes me, tells me something, instigates me, makes fun of my steps or makes fun of my spirituality or Hinduism or whatever it is, and I engage myself, now what happens? I have diverted myself. I was going on a nice way. This person came, irritated me, instigated me. Now I am fighting with him. What happened? He is successful in his endeavor. If somebody comes and irritates you and you get engaged with him and start fighting with him or exchanging messages or whatever the way of fights nowadays are on the social media, but whose loss? My loss. I was going on a smooth way. This person comes, instigates me, irritates me. I get engaged with him. I start fighting with him. I lose my way. Best is ignore. Don't. Our Pujya Shri Sant Maa Brajdevi Ji Gurudev says, don't put the key to your happiness in somebody else's pocket. You are a happy man, you are doing something nice, you are going on the spiritual way. Somebody comes, turns a key, you get irritated, you get involved with him, you get engaged with him, you get start fighting with him, and you lose your way. That means you have put the key to your happiness in somebody else's pocket. Whenever he wants, he can come, irritate you, get you off track.
Yes.
Whenever he wants, they can come, irritate you, get you off track. Stupidity.
And you've reminded me of a very important point I try and make to others, which is the wisdom in our faith goes back millennia. It is thousands of years old.
Yes.
And yet, when the things you're telling me, it reminds me, oh, there was a business book that said that. Oh, there was a book which was published last year which said that. Oh, there's somebody on YouTube who said that. We look for recent and modern examples of wisdom when in actual fact,
everything is
in our scriptures.
But Alpesh, we have not been taught to read our scriptures since we were kids. My main problem or my main request to the parents is, do not question your kids, question yourself. People say my kid goes to a school, but she never does arti. So I ask him, do you do? I don't have time. If you don't do, she is not going to do. It is your responsibility to put that scripture in her mind. You sit with her or him every evening, read one chapter of Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and make it a routine for your life. And see, when she is 16, when he is 14, he will have that inside him. You don't have to put it then. Because since he was 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, he or she has been listening to Srimad Bhagavad Gita every day, day in, day out. And these scriptures are like so powerful that without that person knowing, they imbibe themselves into your humanity, into your being, into your thinking, into your brain, into your philosophy, everything, they imbibe themselves. So that kid at 14 or 16 doesn't have to be taught. So it is one of the main responsibilities of the parents that you sit with your kids every day, take that time out, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, sit, read the Gita Ji to them. If you don't read, she's not going to read or he's not going to read.
Yes, which brings me to another point, which is quite common in talks, and we often say to people, so which are your favorite books? Now, it seems a little bit unusual to ask you this, because normally you ask, regular people, and they've got their list of and for me, and you're absolutely right on the point of the Bhagavad Gita, it's such a powerful tool at times of worry, at times of concern, and more importantly, when the stock market isn't at the bottom, to put it that way, the mental stock market, don't leave it till the times of worry. As sort of the politicians might say, fix the roof when it's sunny, and work on yourself also when it's a nice, pleasant day, as it is where you are at the moment. So tell me which books, and remember, if we're talking to an audience who, which would be most accessible to them? I mean, the Bhagavad Gita is incredibly accessible, which people often don't realize. They think they're going to come across a huge tome, and they feel they must start off reading it in Sanskrit, which of course isn't true. What else would you suggest they do? It might not be books, it might be lectures, videos, it could be anything. Where would you suggest they start?
I would suggest that each parents, all the parents, from the day the kid starts to understand, pick up Bhagavad Gita, no issues. You can read it in English, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, whatever you want. There's no need to read the Sanskrit slok in the beginning. But our scriptures have a beauty. Even if you do not know Sanskrit, I'm telling you this, even if you do not know Sanskrit, you start reading the Bhagavad Gita. From the first reading, you will not be able to read. But as the days pass by and as the years, you will realize that you yourself are easily reading that Bhagavad Gita Sanskrit also, without knowing Sanskrit. Because you know the meaning, and Sanskrit is a scientific language. So it will start. So you read the Bhagavad Gita, you read the Ramcharitamanas, Ramayana, as you say. It is available in each and every language that you want. It has all the sayings, quotes, guiding forces, guiding messages that have been written anywhere by anybody, be it in any book. You give me one quote, I will give you a chopai from Ramayana, XYZ, this is it. That is what you said just now,
Yes.
When I say something, you will say, oh, this was written in that book. But that person wrote in that book from Srimad Ramcharitamanas.
Yes.
So these two are gems for a normal person. Just read them over and over again. You read 2 pages, 3 pages in a day. You set your time, 15 minutes I am giving, 20 minutes I am giving for myself in one day. Start it, finish, start again. Finish, start again. You don't have to make any other effort.
Yes.
Because every message that is there will keep hitting you slowly, steadily, slowly, steadily. And you will get it into your system without even you knowing it. And your kids will be the most fortunate that you did that effort for them. If you want to do something for your kids, do this.
And I think also the force comes from not just the message, of course, but the messenger. So when the same message is coming from, let's say, I don't know, some internet star, that's not surely as powerful as when you're reading the same message from the Bhagavad Gita and it's the word of God to Arjun.
Obviously.
And
that is word of
I
God.
think people forget this sometimes, that's why it's also important to go to the original source as
Obviously,
well.
when
Um,
when when in your material, sorry, when in a material world, Warren Buffett said something, it carries weight. Same thing if a newbie just passed BBA would say, doesn't carry weight. Same thing here. What is said in the scriptures carries weight because it is the word of God.
yes,
Yeah,
and and
sorry.
and you
I,
remind me of, when the nuclear physicist Oppenheimer, and you will know this, when they detonated for the first time the atomic bomb as part of the Manhattan Project to defeat um, the evil forces of the Nazis and what the Japanese were doing. The first word they asked Oppenheimer, what came to mind? And he's a Jewish nuclear physicist, and he quoted from the Bhagavad Gita. He quoted from our own scriptures and the original source, and he quoted Lord Krishna. And I guess that sort of wraps up in a way what we're saying is that we in our own faith often neglect what's been gifted to us, and yet people from outside our faith, thankfully, do look at it and respect, and often
value it.
respect and value it, often more than we do. But hopefully, from listening to this conversation with you, they will spread that message with greater confidence and influence others, as which I'm sure you will as well. Sadly, time, and we started with time, we're going to end with time. But what we'll make sure is that we do around this the video, we do make sure that people have a way of connecting with yourself or Priya, especially the organizations you've already sent your message to, PwC, I mentioned KPMG, and the various banks. I think there's a greater need than ever amongst these institutions, particularly as people are now more vocal and saying, look, we're losing direction.
Yes.
I think there's more need than ever to hear your message, and I'll say message of Hinduism, but that universal message as well, but that message of Hinduism. And I think it would be great if the people listening to this did reach out to you from those banks, those accountancy firms, and the like, because I think it will help their workforce. I think it'll make a better workforce. I think a more balanced, happier workforce, a more productive workforce, so everybody wins. Because I think employers have a responsibility to their employees beyond just paying their salary. And
Yeah.
are there any closing thoughts you'd like to end with?
I would like to say two things on what you just now said. You said we don't appreciate our scriptures and others have done it. So there's a saying, if you take things for granted, things you take for granted get taken away. That is what is happening with us. We are taking these things for granted, but these are not to be taken for granted. These are to be imbibed in our lives. That will give you the true way where you have to go. Because running fast doesn't mean anything if you're going in the wrong direction. Today's material world is running very fast. But sadly, most of them are running in the wrong direction. So we have to take the scriptures in life. We have to adopt spirituality to make us more productive, to make us more happy, to make us more living a life. Because we were born to live. We are not living because we were born. We were born to live. Live means make something out of your life. Don't be a rat. Let people go run the rat race, because the majority of people today are running fast but in the wrong direction. We have to think, am I running? If I am running, am I running in the right direction? And if I am running in the right direction, do I have the proper guidance, and do I have the proper target where I have to reach? All this will come from our Hindu scriptures. They will guide us. Adopt them in your lives. Give time for that. And don't let your car run out or seize out. Even if you have a Ferrari, it needs a pit stop. These scriptures will give you that pit stop, will give you that energy to work better, earn more, make yourself more productive, make yourself more successful in even the material world. Both ways, it's a win win situation. And that is what everybody wants today. And that is what we want everybody to have today.
Thank you.
Bolo
Thank you.
Bhagwan Lal
Thank you,
ki jai.
Swamiji. Thank you very much. And I think that's a wonderful note on which to end. Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you. God bless you. जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे, जय जय श्री राधे। बोलिए श्री संत माता ब्रजदेवी जी की जय। राधे राधे, राधे राधे, राधे राधे। थैंक यू।